Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha TV. You're watching Question Hour, the show that we give you all the questions asked by members in the upper house and replies given by various government departments and ministries. I'm your host Rajat Kane. I'm joined with my colleague Kriti Mishra.
Thank you so much, Rajat. And as our viewers know, that this is the show where all the important unstarred questions asked by the members of the upper house is collated for them and the responses given by the government and the respective departments and ministries. So, Rajat, let's begin the show.
Well, the first question of this edition of the show that was asked by member P. Wilson from Ministry of Civil Aviation. The member asked whether any regulatory body will be appointed for checking the exorbitant pricing of air tickets by airlines and cartel information in fixing the price of air tickets.
And giving a very specific reply to this question, the government says that with the repeal of Air Corporation Act in March 1994, the provision of airfare approval was dispensed with by the government. However, DGCA has set up a tariff monitoring unit that monitors airfares on certain routes selected on random basis to ensure that airlines do not charge airfares outside the range declared by them. The fare monitoring analysis carried out by DGCA in the recent past has shown that airfares remained well within the fare bracket uploaded by the airlines on their respective websites. And joining us on the Question Hour show through virtual platform is Rajya Sabha MP, Mr. P. Wilson. Mr. Wilson, welcome to Rajya Sabha TV and thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So during the previous session of the Rajya Sabha, you asked a very important unstarred question, which was about regulatory body for checking the exorbitant pricing of air tickets by the airlines. Now, the government has given a specific response. What is your take on government's reply?
See, in my question, I have asked whether there is any regulatory body be appointed for checking the exorbitant pricing of air tickets by the airlines and cartel formation in fixing the price of air tickets. The Honorable Minister has replied to me saying that, after the repeal of Air Corporation Act 1994, there is no provision, for regulating the air prices. But he has replied to me saying that there is a mechanism in place which monitors the air fares on certain routes selected on random basis to ensure that the airlines do not charge airfares more than the declared rates. The reason for asking such question is we have seen that there is an exorbitant fixing of air fares for some routes. For example, if I wanted to fly to Delhi from Chennai, I can see the economic sector, they charge sometimes 7,000 rupees, sometimes 5,000 rupees, sometimes 14,000 rupees, 15,000 rupees. Even I have paid 24,000 rupees for getting a economic, air ticket. And even nearby routes, like I often travel to Madurai to go to Madurai High Court. They suddenly charge me with 14,000 rupees, 15,000 rupees. At some point of time, it will be 3,000 rupees. So there is no rationality in asking or fixing such exorbitant rates. The entire intention behind asking this question is that there should be some regulatory authority in place. Since the Aircraft Act, came into force when airlines, were permitted to be, allowed to occupy the airspace. There have been no particular act till today which regulates the fixing of price. In fact, we have Airport Economic Regulatory Authority of India Act, which determines the tariff for aeronautical services and passenger service fees, and also to monitor performance standards. But till today, there are no laws being brought with regard to the regulating the price with regard to the air fares are concerned. We have originally we had an act called as Air Corporation Act 1953. So we have Air Corporation Act 1953, which brought in this Indian Airlines and Air India But however, it was repealed in the year 1994. When these act was in place, of course, one of the object of the act was to provide at a fair price. But after repeal of this 1994 Act, we don't have any particular act in place. But there are some other acts called as Aircraft Act 1934, then Carriage by Air Act 1972, then as I said, Airport Economic Regulatory Authority of India Act 2008. All these acts, they cater for different purposes. So as long as we have a Director General of Civil Aviation who is empowered to even regulate the air and other services, air safety and airworthiness standards, I think it's a high time that this authority at least be entrusted with not only for the purpose of monitoring but also for the purpose of regulating. If the Parliament brings in certain amendments to the existing laws, I think that can be taken care of.
So, any specific suggestion to the government, sir?
Yes. See, we have Motor Vehicles Act, where the power of the government is there to grant of stage carriage permits, where the regional authority, transport authority, he fixes the route and he fixes the price also. This National Civil Aviation Policy 2016 that was introduced, they thought about the regional connectivity scheme, which nurtures a competitive market environment in the civil aviation sector and a balanced growth of regional connectivity in different parts of country. So, with this object in their mind, they can award routes also, like shorter routes, longer routes, high density routes, low density routes. Then they can even think about streamlining the profits also. So this if the government brings comprehensive legislation on this aspect, of course this will improve more of airlines coming into this sector. And everyone knows that airline is a big industry, aviation is a big industry, and of course every people is thinking about to save time while traveling, and airline is a best transporting mechanism for saving time. So therefore, when you bring in a regulatory mechanism, certainly there will be a air price being fixed, regulated. Routes also can be regulated, and ultimately it will be in the public interest. See, the Constitution, Article 39 C and B clearly says that these are all the material resources, and airspace is a material resources. It should be used for the benefit of the public, and therefore, when it is going to be used for the benefit of public by bringing in these types of regulation, certainly more number of people will use the aircraft. And ultimately, there will be a growth in the airline sector. It is not that the airlines is meant only for the affluent people. It should be, to the person who is in a position to, travel that airline. Only when you reduces the price, he will be in a position to, plan to go in airline. So therefore, this will certainly increase the airline industries. The airlines will be more benefited, and thus we can see more growth in the airline sector.
Right, on that note, thank you so much for joining us and speaking to us, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And let's move on to the next question asked by member Revati Raman Singh, and this question pertains to the Ministry of Rural Development. And the member has inquired about the number of villages or settlements having a population of 500 persons in plains and those with population of 250 in hilly and desert areas respectively have been connected under Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, and to the extent to which the government has succeeded in achieving the targets for the last year under the scheme, and also the targets set by the government under Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana for financial year 2020-21.
Replying to query, the ministry said that unit for Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana is a habitation and not a revenue village or a panchayat. A total of 8,427 habitations of population size 250 plus and more as per census 2001 have been provided all-weather road connectivity in the country under Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana during the year 2018-19. The government had fixed a target to provide all-weather road connectivity to 15,000 habitations inclusive of habitations of 100 to 249 population size in left-wing extremism affected areas in the year 2018-19, of which 10,467 habitations were provided connectivity during the financial year 2018-19. And lastly, the government has fixed target to complete 66,784 kilometer road length during the year 2020-21. Well, moving on to next question of this edition of the show asked by member S. Muthukurappan from Ministry of Railways. The member asked whether it's fact that railways are considering to roll out control centres for goods trains and also whether it's fact that control centre will help to increase the average speed of goods train to 70 kilometres from the existing 25 kilometres per hour.
And responding to this query, the government says that control centres already exist at the Railway Board, zonal headquarters and divisional headquarter levels to monitor movements of train. In addition to these, for the dedicated Freight Corridor Corporation of India network, 2 operation control centres have been planned at Prayagraj and Ahmedabad for eastern and western dedicated freight corridors respectively. Dedicated freight corridors are envisaged to vastly improve the average speeds of good trains as compared to the existing levels. And let's move on to the last question of this edition of the Question Hour show asked by member Vandana Chaban, and this question pertains to the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and the member has sought details about the status and progress of the project initiated by government across Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra and Odisha on enhancing the climate resilience of India's coastal communities.
Well, replying to the query, the ministry said a project title Enhancing Climate Resilience of India's Coastal Community has been approved for states of Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra and Odisha with part funding from Green Climate Fund. Now, project inception, a workshop has been conducted and preparatory steps of project implementation are underway. No funds have been released to the states. Well, that brings to an end in this version of Question Hour.
Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Rajya Sabha TV.